To me, she was perfect, and I didn't see it. Right here, you can't really see it, but it ended up that way. Finally, at 12 weeks, we got her in to see the GI specialist, and he was pretty much alarmed at the very sight of her. A nuclear test called a HIDO scan was performed to watch a radioactive dye move through her body. I watched the dye move, and once it got to her liver, it never went any further. Her liver was not draining toxins from her body correctly, and in turn, they were backing up into the bloodstream and causing yellowing of her skin and eyes. After the test, I refused to leave. I went over to the GI doctor's office and said, we just had the test, and I need answers because I knew what I saw. And there in the office in July of 2007, I was told that Ayla likely had a condition called biliary atresia, a chronic liver disease, and would require another major surgery to repair her damaged bile duct. He then went on to tell me it was too complex of a procedure to do in Pensacola, and we needed to go to Shands. So I'm thinking we got diagnosed with CF here. They took care of what I thought was the worst possible thing, a blockage, and now we have something that is at a higher level than they can even handle. So I was very, very worried. On this day, I was sure I was living my worst nightmare. It couldn't get any worse. You know the saying that God doesn't give us more than we can handle? Well, at that point, I was not sure that were true in my life. The anger that I felt, it just kept growing. I was so angry. I just wondered, why? What did I do to deserve this? A couple days later, we made the trip to Shands. We packed for another long hospital stay because we really had no idea what to expect. We arrived at the hospital and the surgery was scheduled. We were all praying and believing for a miracle of healing, but unfortunately, that was not possible. The day of the surgery was awful. I don't know if you've ever been in a place like that, but it's a huge hospital and it's kind of like a holding area. There's all these rooms to the sides, and theirs is huge, and you see people who are plain to see that they're very ill, and we have this tiny little baby, and we felt like it was a bad dream. This could not be real in our lives. But Ayla was 3 months old at this point, and she weighed 9.6 pounds. She was in the OR for over 8 hours, and I was pretty much paralyzed the entire time. I didn't eat or sleep or want to really even speak until she was safe. I'd like to say I spent that time praying and believing God would protect her, but that was not the case. This is when we were taking her home, and I could see she was pretty yellow. I don't know if this picture shows the color the way that it really was, but that was her before we went home. But when we finally got in to see her after surgery, it was really like deja vu, like the first picture you saw of her. She looked so tiny and frail, and all of the wires that we finally got rid of, they were back. And the next day, the head of the liver clinic at Shands came in to see us and make his rounds, and he delivered another blow that I never saw coming. He began to describe that he would be following Ayla's care throughout adolescence for cirrhosis of the liver. Biopsies showed liver damage that needed to be monitored regularly. And he then went on to tell me that in most cases, a transplant is required, and that only time will tell. I just have a blank space here on my paper because I couldn't really, that's how I felt. Like, what? Did you just really say that? I was sure now this was the worst of my worst nightmares. I had thought the surgery would have fixed everything. That we would have been able to fix this problem, get back to dealing with life with CF and how that looks, because we hadn't really even dealt with that. But now having 2 chronic illnesses to live with was just too much. I was wondering, why again? What are you trying to teach me through this, and what am I not getting? began to think, are you going to take her from me? That was a very real fear at that time. The anger and guilt began to make a permanent home in my heart. After Ayla's third surgery, she did recover quickly, and about a week later, we were discharged. This is kind of distorted, but that's a picture of her when she's about 2. After that, I settled into my daily routine of pretty much keeping her alive, is how I felt. I was a health watchdog, and I never let my guard down. I wasn't concerned with being anything but her mom, and in turn, my marriage was suffering. In this picture, I picked it because it was a really good example of how it was. It was all about her. We were there, but it was really just all about her. By Ayla's second birthday, my husband and I were going through a really hard time. Somehow, after a brief separation and counseling, we were able to salvage some will to fight for our family. We just both had so much guilt over Ayla's CF. Because after all, our bad genes, had caused her to have a disease that was a life-shortening illness. And we just wondered if we should even be together. We certainly couldn't have more kids like we planned. I knew in my mind that Satan was attacking our family. He had attacked our child and our marriage. But we all know what Satan means for evil, God uses for his glory. A late miscarriage almost sealed our fate. But you see, what the devil didn't know was that I was so afraid of having another child with CF that while I was pregnant with that child for 13 weeks, those thoughts just consumed me, and I wasn't even sure if we should even be having more children. I didn't really know that I know that's what I wanted. And after the miscarriage, I was so overcome with sadness and just mourning for that child that I realized that my heart's desire was to have another baby. And if it was God's will for me to have another baby with cystic fibrosis, then that was going to be fine with me. So something good came of that. I should have cropped these and made them taller.
It didn't look like this on the screen.
I know. A year later, to the day, I was due with that child that I lost on November 28th, and Autumn was born November 29th. So a year later to the day, I became pregnant with Autumn Faith. From the beginning, I had peace over her life and her health. I believed God was going to honor my husband and I for being committed to our marriage and giving our family in its entirety to him. I believed God was going to give me a healthy child. Don't get me wrong, though. I had not arrived. I still had fear. I was very afraid. But I just had to give my fears to God. As most of you know, Autumn was born without CF. There was a 25% chance that she or any other child that we could have CF, and she was born without it. My husband calls her our grace baby, and that's what she is. You can change. Ayla has since done really well. She has pretty much left her doctors scratching their heads. Her liver is fully functioning. She's one of a small percentage of people that have not required transplant and are thriving. She's the only person living with CF and biliary atresia that Shands knows of, and not just living and making it, she's living well. Her CF is a daily struggle, but she's grown and done things that I never thought she would, like attending preschool here. When you're in the pit, it's hard to see anything negative and feel anything but anger. But I looked back and now I can see God had his hand in all of it. And here are the few of the ways. The music that I showed you that where she was laying there, it was in her little bed at the hospital. We played over her pretty much immediately after she was born, and she she still listens to it every night while she sleeps. And it's called Sing Over Me Worship Songs, if any of you want some really good music to play over your kids. It blessed all the nurses, other infants and mothers that were going through the same things and worse things than I was. One night I had left and I couldn't sleep, and I came back, in the hours of the morning, and I come around the corner, and before I'd even come around, I heard music, and it was loud. And the nurse kind of got over to it real quick, and I said, "No, that's okay." And she said, "They just love this music, I can tell, because when you're in there, all you hear is beep, 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 monitors going off, and I did not want that for Ayla. So, it also had prompted people, like friends of ours who we knew, who didn't know what to do and never had prayed, to pray for us and for Ayla. And others' faith was strengthened by her story. And our marriage was being molded and strengthened throughout everything that we endured. For me personally, being here today in front of you is a major testament, because this is not where I like to be at all. But I know that this story needs to be told. This story is just in its beginning stages, and I know that. She was having her bronch. She had a couple weeks ago that some of you might remember praying for her for the results, and they were good results. But she had just gotten her happy medicine. You can tell in her eyes. She was not like that when she came out. But when living with a chronic illness, life can change in a matter of minutes, and I am still afraid of the unknown. What will Ayla's life look like? Will the cure be found before CF takes its toll on her little body? How will CF hinder her hopes and her dreams? Just this week I learned that Ayla is having issues at school due to embarrassment over using the bathroom frequently and being smelly, and she doesn't want people, she's already aware of that. And so at 5, you just think about all the years we have left in school, and it's going to be tough. You can change. But the good news is, God does not expect me to not have fear. He expects me to turn those fears over to Him and have faith that He has my family and loved ones in the palm of His hand. This is my verse for autumn. Hebrews 11:1. It says, "Faith is being sure of things hoped for and certain of what we do not see." Some days I still struggle with, Ayla, and worrying, and because after all, she's my baby, and that's what we do. But this is my verse for her life. It's Isaiah 61:3. And it says, "And to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them the crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor." This is my verse for Ayla. Her story is the display of His splendor, and she is my oak and His. Those stories I heard about a character in the Bible when I was a child did not become real to me until I had to walk through my own trials in my life. I didn't know who God was, and in turn I was just angry. But now, all of that has changed. God is the healer of my child and my womb. He is the Savior of my marriage, and He's the Prince of Peace in my life